What happens when a military general ends a 56-year dynasty and promises his country a fresh start? In Gabon, President Brice Oligui Nguema's rise has brought hope, skepticism, and no shortage of controversy. For over half a century, the Bongo family, first Omar, then Ali, controlled Gabon's politics and economy. Oil wealth flowed, but, according to the UK Guardian, most Gabonese still faced poverty and joblessness, fueling growing resentment among ordinary citizens. Everything changed on August 30, 2023. Just minutes after Ali Bongo claimed victory in a disputed election, the military, led by General Oligui, seized power and ended the Bongo era. As reported by France 24, the international reaction was swift and negative. The African Union, France, and the United States all condemned the takeover as unconstitutional. But on the streets of Libreville, the celebrations told a different story. In our analysis at the African Reset, this was more than just a coup, it was a collective outcry for dignity and accountability. Many Gabonese saw this as an overdue correction, an opportunity to shake off decades of what many have called corruption fatigue. General Oligui, who had served as the head of the Republican Guard, and is a cousin of Ali Bongo, took charge as transitional president, promising change and a return to constitutional order. By November 2024, a new constitution was adopted, concentrating more power in the presidency and permitting military leaders to run for office. Le Monde pointed out that these reforms seemed tailored to Oligui's ambitions, as they included an age limit and an amnesty for coup participants. At the African Reset, we can't ignore that these constitutional reforms, while backed by a majority of voters, also gave sweeping powers to the president. In our view, this reflects a classic dilemma in African politics: are these measures necessary for stability, or do they cleverly cement personal power? In April 2025, Oligui won the presidential election with nearly 95% of the vote. Reuters noted the election saw the highest turnout in 3 decades. Commonwealth observers described the poll as largely transparent, but opposition figures argued that it was hardly a fair contest, with several political parties still suspended, and the machinery of state working in Oligui's favor. At the African Reset, we urge our audience to look past the headline numbers. When competition is limited and the playing field is uneven, such overwhelming victories should be met with healthy skepticism. The next turning point came in July 2025, when Oligui launched the Democratic Union of Builders, UDB, his new political party, promising inclusion, development, and happiness. AfricaNews reported that the UDB was packed with heavyweights from the former ruling party. This fits what we at the African Reset see as a recurring pattern in African politics: change is often more about rebranding than real renewal. The rhetoric is bold, but without a genuine shake-up in the political class, we believe the UDB risks becoming just another vehicle for the same old elite. Oligui's policy platform focuses on diversifying the economy away from oil, fighting corruption, and addressing youth unemployment, which, according to the World Bank, stands at around 40%. The government has announced efforts to nationalize key sectors and improve infrastructure, with support from institutions like the African Development Bank. But as reported by Jeune Afrique and echoed in our own analysis, high-profile anti-corruption arrests are not enough. Oligui was part of the previous regime, and many of his allies still hold key positions. Unless these reforms are matched by deep, systemic changes, we believe Gabon could quickly slip back into old habits. Public sentiment, based on both domestic and international reporting, remains a mix of hope and skepticism. Many Gabonese are cautiously optimistic about new promises and improved living standards, but there's real concern that the UDB is simply the latest chapter for entrenched interests. At the African Reset, our conclusion is clear: President Oligui's government must deliver concrete progress on jobs, accountability, and true transparency, or risk triggering a new wave of disillusionment. Globally, Gabon's new direction is being watched with keen interest. While initial condemnation was strong, BBC Africa and other outlets have noted the return of foreign investors and diplomats, a reminder that international actors often value stability over deep democratic reform. From our perspective at the African Reset, Africa deserves more than just cosmetic change. The real test for Gabon is whether this new era empowers citizens and builds a genuinely competitive, inclusive democracy. So, what do you think? Is President Oligui's Democratic Union of Builders a true break from the past or simply all power in a new suit? Drop your opinion in the comments below, and if you appreciate our original analysis, hit like, subscribe, and share for more insight from the African Reset. We'll be watching Gabon's next tips and sharing them with you.